Good evening. Order, please. And if you would like, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling, absent. Freed.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway, absent. Vigil.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Cumby.
Here.
That's 7 present and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move on to, is there any consideration of changes in agenda from the public? Any public requests to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we do have a request from council to move.
Mayor,
Yes,
did we do public comment requests on non-agenda related items?
we already did.
We did. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. You never know. All right. We do have a council request to move item 9J, Resolution 2026-17, amending City Council rules of the procedure from the agenda and to place it as item 16A. So 9J will move to 16A. And without further suggestions, Councilor O'Doherty, will you please make a motion for changes in the agenda?
So I move that the following change be made to the agenda, that item 9J be moved to 16A.
Second.
I have a motion from O'Doherty, second from Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? City Clerk, that motion passes.
So now D.
And next, Councilor O'Doherty, if you can make a motion to set the agenda.
I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
I have a motion from O'Doherty, second from Freed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? City Clerk, that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to public hearing. City Clerk, there is a public hearing related to the transfer of retail liquor license number 12 from AB Laramie LLC to Big D Oil Company, doing business as Big D number 27, located at 2901 East Grand Avenue. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Notice is hereby given that on the 21st of January 2026, an application was received in the office of the city clerk for a transfer of retail liquor license number 12 to transfer from AB Laramie, Wyoming, LLC, doing business as Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar located at 3209 Grand Avenue, to Big D Oil Company, doing business as Big D number 27, located at 2901 East Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming, for the license term of February 18th, 2026 through May 7th, 2026. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. at Council Chambers, 406 Ivinson Avenue, and via Zoom. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, we will move on with the agenda. City Manager Feaser, are there announcements?
Honorable Mayor, Councilors, there's only one. The monthly staff recognition will be given by Ton Smith, Assistant Chief of Police.
Good evening, Assistant Chief.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor. Council members, thank you. Tonight, we would like to present to you the January 2026 Rock Star of the Month, Dispatch Supervisor Jennifer Graham. Jennifer was nominated by Community Service Officer Robert Austin, who states, "Jennifer is very well respected in her position and is well liked by dispatchers and officers in the police department." Jennifer has worked as a dispatcher just shy of 18 years, with the past 5.5 of those years as a dispatch supervisor. Dispatchers take emergency and non-emergency calls for service for the Albany County Sheriff's Office, the Laramie Police Department, Laramie Fire Department, EMS, and all 7 volunteer agencies in Albany County. As a dispatch supervisor, she has added duties that she must attend to. These duties include overseeing 9 dispatchers, conducting monthly call reviews, scheduling, time entry and approvals, and training and employee development. Jennifer assists in training dispatcher recruits, and while she can and has trained recruits in all of the 4 stages of their training program, she most enjoys training recruits in Stage 2, which consists of taking those 911 emergency calls on the phone and then dispatching fire and EMS calls over the radio. Jennifer's steady leadership, reliability, and dedication make a real difference every day, and that is exactly why she deserves this recognition. Congratulations, Jennifer, on your well-earned nomination and recognition as our January Rockstar of the Month.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get a picture. Yeah, you gotta. All righty. I always love those moments. And thank you to your family for coming. Yay! Thank you. So, counselors, are there any disclosures and/or conflicts of interest? All righty. Seeing none. Counselor O'Doherty, approval of the consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
I have a motion from O'Doherty, second from Lockhart. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling, absent. Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Aye.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Hill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. And before we move on to the regular agenda, I would like to recognize the appointment of Joe Carroll Rupp to the Laramie Advisory Commission on Disabilities. And I would like to thank Joe Carroll Rupp for her years of service on this council and for the expertise she brings to it. Thank you. Councillor Lockhart, item 11.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to award the contract for the purchase of 600 water meters for the meter replacement program to Metron Fournier, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $232,200 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from Lockhart, second from Newman. Good evening, Director Webb.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. So this request is just the next purchase in the ongoing meter replacement program. You may remember I was here back in August asking for the exact same thing. Those 600 water meters we bought back in August have been installed, and so we need to move on with the next 600. These are 3/4 inch meters, so typical service at a house. We're about 55% through replacing the approximately 9,500 meters. Probably got another 2 years to go till we get it done. We're doing it with existing staff that's doing it with their workload. We had a delay last year. That same group that's doing the water meter replacement was also doing the lead and copper inspection, so they were pulled from that replacement to the lead and copper, so it's extended the program a little longer than we originally wanted to. But that's what this is, just buying the next round of 600 meters. I think next fiscal year when we come back, probably is what I'll do is I'll just come with a contract for the whole year. So I'm not coming back every few months for this. We'll come back for a contract for the whole year for you to award, and that way staff can then get those meters as they need them. Doing it in a bulk order like this saves us on shipping, obviously. The company's out of Boulder, Colorado, and they're going to just drive them up to us the one time, and so just saves us on the shipping quite a bit. So with that, I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, Councilor Doherty.
Director Webb, would you remind me, these are the ones, these would tell Public Works would know if water is leaking at some, if somebody has an outrageously high use, all of a sudden, you would be able to flag that?
Yeah, Mayor, through you. So we have a lot of different parameters that are set on the meters. These are what they call smart meters. They read into the cloud, and we get those readings almost instantaneously. So our folks can set parameters on leak rates if the water's being too much water is being used or something. I think last month we actually had 46 of them, and so we contacted people. And a lot of times it's a running toilet or something. They find out in their basement the toilet's running or something like that. The other thing we've found real handy lately is we found out we can read the temperature on them. And so our folks have set a temperature parameter where if that water meter goes below a certain temperature, I don't know exactly what they have it set at, but if it hits that temperature, then they get notice, and then they can go out and check it to make sure the meter's properly insulated so that it doesn't freeze during the wintertime. Just something they started doing a couple months ago. In the future, once this is all set up, once we get it all rolled out to everybody, and customers will actually be able to log in and look at their usage by day up to the minute, see what's happening, real public facing, then kind of manage their own water up down to the minute, really. So yeah, once we get it done, there's going to be a lot of information there that the public can actually dig into themselves. Right, we haven't pushed that out yet because it's still, we're still moving forward, but our folks in-house do have the ability to look at that.
Thank you. Further questions? Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director. Just curious, I think you said it, and I was looking through the packet, and I couldn't remember. But if we approve these, this next purchase, what percentage is left that we need to hopefully get to replace, all the others?
and Mayor, through you, about 45%. So we've completed about 55%. So right now, we're kind of working in two systems. 45% of them we have to do drive-by reads on every month. Our guys go out and drive around, and they pick them up like through radio frequency ID. And then the other 55% go into the cloud. Once it's all done, we won't have any drive-by reads at all. It'll save us a lot of staff time.
Thank you. Further questions? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor O'Doherty.
I appreciate this because one time I had a toilet running in a basement for probably a month, and I just couldn't believe that was my water consumption until it happened a second time and I found the leak. So it'd be really nice to know that before you lose 30,000 gallons. So thank you.
And I had a broken pipe that flooded my entire basement. It was quite an expensive endeavor, and notification and shut off would have helped me a lot. So thank you. No further comments. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Lockhart.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Bowling, absent. Freed.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Councilor Freed, item 12.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve the transfer of retail liquor license number 12 from AB Laramie LLC to Big D Oil Company doing business as Big D Oil number 27, located at 2901 Grand Avenue, for a license year of February 18th, 2026 to May 7th, 2026, contingent upon the completion of sale, and will remain non-operational until construction has been completed with issued permits.
I have a motion by Freed, second by Newman. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before you was received in an application form in the City Clerk's office on January 21st. This transfers the retail liquor license from AB Laramie LLC, which was Applebee's Neighborhood Bar and Grill, to Big D number 27, which is located at 30th and Grand. Their plan is to take out the car wash and reconstruct the building so that they can put in a separate room for the alcohol. So they will have that in a separate room to allow minors to still come into the rest of the convenience store. With that, we do have one of the representatives here, Clyde Mead. And so if you have any questions, he's available to answer those. It is contingent upon the sale. They haven't signed the final documents yet to transfer that. And then it will remain non-operational, as they do need to do construction to complete the removal of the car wash and installing the new updates to the building. Any questions?
Thank you, City Clerk. Councilors, are there any questions? Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this
Mayor?
agenda item? Hello? Oh,
Mayor, sorry.
Councilor
I have a question.
Richardson,
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question. Nancy, do we typically have enough of, like, is the number of these, do they meet the demand? And then my kind of follow-up with that is, Applebee's now, due to the new rules, could have just had a bar and grill license. Is that correct? And so now we have more options.
City Clerk.
Mayor, through you to Vice Mayor Richardson. So the City of Laramie has issued 27 retail liquor licenses according to a population formula that's created within Wyoming state statute. So upon census, they reevaluate, how many licenses each municipality should have. So we have been at all 27 being issued for quite some time. The bar and grills now, we currently have all 14 issued. So right now we don't have any bar and grill available either. At this time, we have restaurant liquor licenses that are available at an unlimited number.
Thank you.
The restaurants are unlimited. Okay, thank you.
Is that do you need a follow-up?
I just wanted to make sure I heard that the restaurants are unlimited.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Lockhart?
That answers my question. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. And Mr. Mead, that motion passes. And safe journey back over the hill. Item 13, Councilor O'Doherty.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2026-22, authorizing a site lease and facility sublease agreement, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from O'Doherty, second from Freed. Good evening, Director Wade.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I have the pleasure of introducing for your consideration a resolution that would authorize a site lease and facility sublease agreement. I'm going to lay out the foundation for you of these agreements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Todd Bishop, our municipal advisor, and Rick Thompson, who is our legal counsel in this matter, to provide a little bit of information that, frankly, I cannot provide to you. And so you have all the people here tonight who can help you make an educated decision about this agenda item. And so you may remember in your budget publication and even in some work we've done together this year, us talking about a lease back on the City Hall and annex improvements. And that's actually colloquially, is what I would say, what these agreements are before you, except it's a lease sublease formally. These types of transactions are not new in Wyoming. They are most similar to what you do when you approved finance purchases. So those lease purchases, these agreements are really similar to that, except for the fact that the city already owns interest in our buildings. And so these lease sublease agreements are a tool in Wyoming that allows us to spread out the cost of these types of improvements over time in ways that have been vetted already through Wyoming statute and through case law. And so, as you know, we, in thinking about City Hall and annex improvements, the bulk of that project, half of it at least, is funded by the voter-approved SPET tax. But we all know what happened between 2018 and 2023. We had a period of intense inflation. We were also very lucky to be collecting our SPET tax faster than we had originally anticipated due to wind energy development in the area. But even with those things, we still had a funding shortfall for this project of about $1.9 million. And so we started working over a year ago to see if this project might be a good choice for a financing arrangement. We don't do many of these in the general fund. In fact, we have basically a loan to the state for retirement payback on fire pension A and lease purchases, because that's the type of activity that actually happens in the general fund, which is who would hold this financing agreement. And so with some of the things we have going on, while we do have a lot of fund balance, we also have a lot of commitments. And as you know from listening to us in the past year and from some of the actions you've taken, we've also taken action to tie up a lot of our fund balance. So think about the $5 million that we allocated to start up Storm. That's being repurposed now, but that's not an insignificant commitment. $14 million for streets, $2 million for housing enabling infrastructure, and about $12.5 million all in for SPET tax match. And so what I was hoping to do with this financing arrangement is to just spread out the cost over a period of 6 or 7 years to allow us a little bit more flexibility with some of the major reinvestment that we're trying to make in infrastructure. And so if you look at our annual comprehensive financial report, and we'll do that a little bit together this week, you'll see what a great financial position we're in. You'll see that we're still in a really conservative space, and that this is financially a very sound strategy. Our municipal advisor, Todd Bishop, is actually going to talk to you about that bidding process, how he went about getting us a rate at 4.12% over the term, which is a fantastic rate. It's just right over the Treasury curve, which means that if I were to keep the money and invest it, I'd probably earn that. And so it's a really good deal in that way for the city, and I'm really grateful for his help. And Rick Thompson is going to tell you a little bit more this evening about the legality of these types of agreements and their history in Wyoming, and is present to answer any questions that you have so that you can be comfortable. And with that, I think I'll turn it over first to Todd Bishop, and then Mr. Rick Thompson will follow Todd's presentation.
Thank you,
Great.
Director. And Mr. Bishop, welcome.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jen, thank you for the introduction. My name is Todd Bishop. I'm with Kaiser Wealth Management. I'm a municipal advisor. I've had the pleasure of working with the city of Laramie for many, many years, dating, gosh, clear back to 1993, I think was one of the first times that I had the pleasure of working with you all. This type of financing we actually used with the city of Laramie back in 2007 when we put together a project for the animal shelter improvements there locally. So not the first time that we've utilized it. Started working in really, I think, December, having conversations with some of the local banks in Laramie, as well as a few around the state, talking about this particular project and whether or not they would have an interest in helping the city of Laramie finance these improvements. We ended up identifying about 7 institutions that we sent out a formal request for proposal. We sent that proposal out in January 26th, received a firm response, a bidding subscription form, if you will, back on February 6th. Had 4 responses. The low bid was submitted by FNBO at a 4.12% interest rate. The high bid that we received was a 475, and I think all of the bids, I was very glad to see that we had 4 total bids back. So a lot of interest in this type of a financing structure. The difference, one of the nice things about a competitive bidding process like this is you're getting the banks to put out their best foot forward, and the difference between the low bid and the high bid was about a total of $50,000 total. So a pretty significant difference. And so, I'm really tickled that we ended up with that 4.12% rate. So given your approval of this item this evening, we'll proceed and prepare for a closing on March 3rd, at which time those lease proceeds would be available for the completion and whatever remaining items that you have in place to complete your project. Let's see. I think that's really, in summary, I think that's kind of takes you through the financing and the bidding process. But if there's any questions, I'd certainly be happy to address those.
Any questions at this time? We have no questions at this time, Mr. Bishop, but don't go away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd ask Mr. Thompson if he wouldn't mind showing himself this evening and providing just a brief overview of your legal opinion.
Unmute here.
Thank you.
There we go.
Good evening, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Rick Thompson. I'm an attorney with the firm of Hathaway & Coombs in Cheyenne, Wyoming. serving as counsel, special counsel to the city on this lease financing transaction. These lease financing transactions are very commonplace among cities and towns, counties, and even the state of Wyoming. We've used them all over the state with the blessing of the Wyoming Supreme Court and the Wyoming Attorney General's office. There's a provision in the resolution I want to read to you, and it's kind of the hallmark of what we do in these leases to make sure that they are constitutionally compliant. And it's paragraph 5 of the resolution that says, no provision of this authorizing resolution, the site lease or the facility sublease agreement shall be construed as creating or constituting a general obligation or other indebtedness of the city or a mandatory payment obligation of the city in any ensuing fiscal year beyond the current fiscal year. That's very important because there's a Constitution provision. It's Article 16, Section 4 of the Constitution that says that cities and towns may not incur debt beyond the current fiscal year without a vote of the public. And that's why these leases must be structured in a way that they are subject to annual appropriation and that the city can walk from them in any year. The state of Wyoming built a large medium security prison in Rawlins in the late 1990s. I think it was like 1999. And they wanted to tread very carefully, make sure that they were dotting their I's and crossing their T's and making sure the lease the lease structure was absolutely constitutionally compliant. So they requested an Attorney General's opinion, which Bill Hill was the Attorney General at the time. The Attorney General did issue an opinion. It found that it was constitutional. And here's, in conclusion, what the Attorney General said in its opinion letter. Under the proposed lease revenue financing of the prison construction, the state is not legally obligated to make future lease payments to the Wyoming Building Corporation. That was the leasing entity. The state's lease obligations are contingent upon annual appropriations by the legislature, and the state may, in future years, terminate the prison lease and make alternative arrangements for the housing of the state's inmates. As the Wisconsin Supreme Court appropriately observed in its review of a lease revenue financing plan, the wisdom or likelihood of such choices is not relevant to a determination of the plan's constitutionality. The test established in our cases for indebtedness is not whether the governmental entity will probably pay or whether the governmental entity would be foolish not to pay. The test is whether the governmental entity is under an obligation to pay and the creditor has a right to enforce payment against the governmental entity or its assets. No indebtedness is created where payments are to be made solely at the government's option. That's how that lease was structured, and that's how this lease is structured. The factors that the Attorney General's office laid out in that opinion letter, which we have complied with in this lease structure, are as follows. The city's full faith and credit are not being pledged for any payments under the lease. The city may terminate the lease at any time without recourse if the governing body does not appropriate sufficient funds to pay any annual rental payments. The obligation of the city to make any payments under the lease in any fiscal year is limited to funds appropriated by the governing body for that fiscal year. Since no debt is being created beyond the current fiscal year, the lease does not constitute indebtedness within the meaning of the Wyoming Constitution provision that I read to you. And so with those guidelines set up by the Wyoming Supreme Court cases, there's a number of cases in the Attorney General's office, we have structured leases to be compliant with that Constitution provision. There is an annual appropriation clause in these leases, and the city can determine in any fiscal year not to appropriate for the next year and be out of the lease. And so because of that, it's not considered indebtedness under the Constitution. So I hope that explains it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, councilors, questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
Mayor, I would like, I think I have my questions answered, but I would like to in a bit. I would like to postpone this when we have a fuller council here, but I would defer to you about whether we want to go with public comment since there are people here to talk about it.
I would like to, City Clerk.
Mayor, I was just going to let you know, Vice Mayor had her hand raised as well.
Vice Mayor Richardson, you have a question or a comment on that?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, and thank you so much for going over that, Mr. Thompson. I just am going to ask you when we are trying to explain this to the public for the legality, in simple terms, if we tell folks that this has been found constitutional based on AG's prior decision, because we are only obligating those funds for 1 year, is that an accurate description, or is there anything else that would be needed we would need to include in that?
Mayor, through you, I think that's accurate. The fact that you're not obligating the city beyond the current fiscal year is the key factor here. And you know, a lot of times I know that there's a concern about, you know, one council can't bind a future council. That's along the same lines. You're not binding a future council to have to make a lease payment if they choose not to.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I have it straight for when I talk to people about this. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions related to the motion? I guess then I would recommend, since a number of people have come tonight, that out of respect, we go to public comment at this point in time, and after that point, I will entertain further motion. Is there any public comment? Mr. Glass, I see your hand high in the air. Please come forward. And if you can state your name for the record.
My name is Brett Glass. Good evening, Mayor Cumbee and members of council. Well, the fellow on the screen here has mentioned the Wyoming constitutional provision. I'd like to read it. It's Article 16, Section 4, and it states that
Mr. Glass, I think he read it.
We didn't read the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Yes.
No debt in excess of the taxes for the current year shall in any manner be created by any county or subdivision thereof, or any city, town, or village, or any subdivision thereof in the state of Wyoming, unless the proposition that creates such debt shall have been submitted to a vote of the people thereof, and by them approved. In other words, the Constitution doesn't allow the city to borrow money without going to the voters. Now, just because you can pay a loan off at any time doesn't mean that it's not a loan. This really isn't a pair of leases. This is really a bank loan. And in fact, the second of the two documents that you have in your packet has an amortization schedule in it and calls out the amount of money that the city is paying back in excess of what it got. It calls it out as being interest. So now, this really seems like sort of an end run around the people here. Every one of you is sworn an oath to state that you'll uphold the Constitution, and hopefully you'll consider upholding the spirit of the Constitution rather than just the letter of some lawyerese. The proper procedure, if you want to borrow money, is to put the item to a vote. But you don't actually have to have a special election to do that, because we already have a special election coming. The SPET election, which you scheduled for May, includes in the proposition bonding authority for the city, which means that if the voters approve the SPET in May, you have a large amount, I think it's $14 million worth of bonding authority. That is the correct way to do it, to make sure that the voters have approved you're borrowing the money. It seems to be a trend nowadays for government at all levels to try to make an end run around the voters. And, this has happened in several instances lately, including here in the city. And I really think, just in the interests of democracy, in the interests of doing the right thing, what you should do is vote this item down and then issue a bond when you're authorized to after the election, because I think the voters are going to pass the SVET in May. And so again, I would urge you to vote this down for now. It looks like you may postpone it. In that case, I urge you to vote it down when it comes back to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? Good evening, sir. If you can state your name for the record, please.
Arvin Martinez. Thank you, Mayor. Exactly what Mr. Glass said needs to happen, and I do respect that Ms. Doherty brought up to postpone it because, one, we don't have a full council, and granted, we got a couple on Zoom, but at the end of the day, what's happening here is the city has got a spending problem. And this happened when you guys bought this property on North 9th, and nobody's ever given any of the public a specific amount. My guess is about $20 million. I do respect the fact that you are going to remodel and not go spend another $20 million to buy another place that's out of the city limits. But with that being said, you got to do it the right way. We are now stuck with a tax on the storm drain deal that you guys have passed that is going to be bounced back to us, and it wasn't voted by the voters. It was a Section 15 thing that you slid under the carpet, and that's not right, and that's what you're doing here. Now, you may have all your lawyers and everybody telling you that it's congressionally right, but at the end of the day, you got to bring it in front of the voters. You got to let us decide that that's the right thing to do, and in my opinion, it's not. You got to put it up for a vote. And I do respect the fact that you're looking at doing some remodeling, but we have a spending problem. And Shane Sweat the other day in front of the legislature, he brought that very clear to fact with the stormwater problem that we're having with this tax that's being instilled on us. It's not right. You're going about it the wrong way. You need to rethink this whole thing. And it's sad that we have to keep coming back as the general public to make sure that you guys are doing your job. I mean, this is what we elected you to do, and I don't feel that it's getting done. These things are getting slid under the carpet. I am kind of amazed that you didn't use somebody from Tennessee to structure this whole loan thing, because that's what you did with this water tax thing. You've got advisors from Tennessee that know nothing about Wyoming water. So you need to sit back and put this to a vote. As Mr. Glass said, you got it coming up. Do it right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Martinez. Are there any further public comment on this agenda item? Good evening, ma'am. If you can state your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Tammy Hooper, and I live in Laramie. I'm a Laramie resident. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this project. I would, and I'm sure that there were no corners cut with the bid or anything like that. And I have friends that work at Hathaway & Coons, so I know it's a great law firm. My concern is, you're all supposed to be, you have a fiscal responsibility. You're our fiscal stewards of our budget. And $2 million is a lot of money. I think that if you can just pump the brakes, I'd like to know why we don't have the money. I understand that you've obligated funds in the general fund for things, but this has been on the table for a while, so I don't know why that wasn't taken into consideration, that you could have funded the remodel out of the general fund and then waited to see, because you've got the tax coming up. We're hoping it passes. I know you're hoping it passes. But again, I think that as fiscal stewards, that something should have been mentioned earlier when you were obligating funds out of the general fund for those other projects. This isn't like it came up in December and it was like, oh, let's just remodel City Hall. So I'm just asking you, I know that there's a deadline on the lease. I believe it said that it's supposed to become effective on March the 3rd, so it might not be possible unless you shelve the whole thing. And maybe that's what you do, wait and see, is what the appetite of the voters have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further public comment?
Mayor, we have someone with the screen name of Zoom user that has a hand raised.
I think this, in our rules of order,
yes,
do we require a name?
Okay.
Or just the?
A name and a camera are.
The camera has to be on.
Okay. Okay,
We can hear you. You need to turn your camera on. You're muted now. And she's off.
Did you see Tom Matamore?
Is Tom on there?
Yeah, Mayor, we do have another hand raised from Tom Matamore as well.
If you could bring Mr. Matamore into the room, please.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Mr. Matamore.
All right, thank you very much.
Can you turn on your camera, please?
I'm trying to, but I'm having, let's see, there we go. Use camera. There I am.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your effort.
Sorry about that. I'm not very computer literate, but I did want to remind, if I could, the City Council that they have until February 24th, if you play nice with Kayla, to be able to add something to the sped election. February 24th is the last day to publish. So if you wanted to add something to the ballot, you have until that date to do it. I know it's a rush, but if you decide to do that, it's doable. It's possible. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Matamore. That was going to be one of my questions, and you've answered it. Thank you. Ms. Zoom user, have you been able to work out the camera, or should we move on? All right. We are going to need to move on. Oh, there she is. Can you please state your name? You're muted. So one more step. There you go. Okay. Can you please state your name? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? I'm sorry. I think we need to move on. All right. Is there any further public comment? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Seebeck, if you can come to the podium. And if you can state your full name for the record.
Okay, Diana Seebeck. Mayor Cumby and council, I wonder if you could ask the staff, the appropriate person, I don't know if that's Director Wade. It says the finance director here in this information sheet about the resolution. It says that it's been recommended not to use cash reserves. We have a lot of cash reserves, right? Did I read that correct? $8 million some dollars. So could you ask them to explain why we can't use that?
Director Wade, I'm wondering if you could help us understand that statement and that question.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I did try to go over this point because I thought there might be public interest in it. And so I just want to go through and reiterate some of the reserves that we have assigned but not spent, which we are spending, which actually caused me to feel like this financing was a preferable way to go, given that we don't engage in many of these types of transactions. And I have a lot of trust in the experience between Mr. Bishop and Mr. Thompson. And so I'll read those off again. We have the $5 million commitment for surface water drainage. That's going to look a little different, but I believe you all know we're intending to fund the level of service without user fees, just to start demonstrating what that money can purchase. $14 million for streets. You'll see that in the budget book last year. $2 million in housing enabling infrastructure, also in the budget book from last year. $10 million for the SPET match, which you'll see in the SPET resolution, and $2.5 million that we have assigned reserved for land acquisition related to the SPET. And so I believe part of that you've already seen with the purchase of the property on North 9th. And I just want to make sure that the council does hear this. This transaction has definitely been published in our budget publication. We've talked about it openly, in addition to spreading the cost out over time. And so I hope that's helpful. We just have an awful lot committed right now. And so I felt like spreading out the cost of this one, especially because we don't know what's going to happen with some of our revenue sources, like with property tax, would be a really good idea, especially knowing that we could get a favorable rate working with Mr. Bishop.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment on this agenda item? Returning to council comments. Councilor Newman.
I have a motion when you are ready, Mayor.
Continue.
I move to postpone Resolution 2026-22 to March 3rd.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Newman, second from Councilor O'Doherty to postpone, say the date again, please.
March 3rd, which is our next voting.
Which would be our next regular meeting. Okay, councilors, are there any comments on this at this point? Councilor O'Doherty?
Since that was the date of the closing, the proposed closing on that lease arrangement, so does that mean it'll be a moot point on March 3rd?
Director? Thank you for answering the question.
I would have to defer to Mr. Bishop and Mr. Thompson for specifics, but what we will do is bring a set of just revised agreements back if that is something that we can do. And so we'll confer about that after the meeting today and get back with you if something isn't possible. But
thank you. And Mr. Bishop.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to add that the March 3rd date was in fact the day that we're have this scheduled to close. If we change from that March 3rd date, I will need to go back to the bank and make sure that they are willing to, in fact, hold that rate for us until we are ready to close. If we don't meet the March 3rd date, I would suspect we would, if they are in fact willing to do that, then we would push the closing date to, something 10 days after that, just to allow all the documents to be signed and to take care of all of the closing details. But that is something that I will have to go back and make sure that they are willing, in fact, to hold that bid rate and until we schedule a new closing date. And I just think it's fair to make you aware of that it may not be a problem, but potentially it could be.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions. The first one is, we say closing on March 3rd. Is it by end of day on March 3rd? So if we had a decision made the evening of March, I think it's smart to go find that out anyway. But what are the parameters around that March 3rd date? Just so we're all aware.
You bet. So, Mayor, through you, typically, if we were following along with the timeline of events that we have in place now, we would, the council would approve this lease agreement this evening. The documentation would be signed. There is some work that we need to do with the title company, and then the actual proceeds would be made available on March 3rd, and then that's when the interest starts accruing on the transaction at that point. So, meeting the evening of March 3rd, I don't think that would work as far as keeping that date the same. You'd be closing the transaction before it was formally approved by council. I think, is that kind of where we are, the question?
Mayor? Vice Mayor, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does, Mayor. And sorry to turn off my camera, but my connection's not good. So that's helpful there. And then, Mayor, my other piece doesn't have to do with this, so I'll lower my hand and ask again later.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Is there any other comment or questions on this amendment? Is there any public comment on this amendment to postpone? Back to council. City Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Bowling, absent. Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes, and this item is postponed until the evening of March the 3rd. Item 14, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City Council approve Resolution 2026-20, supporting the submittal of an application to the Wyoming Department of Agriculture for a 2026 Emergency Insect Management Program grant in the amount of $45,940.00 to support the City of Laramie's mosquito control, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from Freed, second from O'Doherty. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Council. This is an annual request that we bring to you as part of the grant process for the Emergency Insect Management Grant Program. They require that we get a resolution from City Council before applying, and so that is what this is. As the summary indicates, this is a 50-50 grant match. So we would be putting in the same amount of $45,940. That comes out of our mosquito control program operating budget. And so this is just the first step where if we get the award, we would be coming back to you later on this year for accepting the award. But this is step one in the Emergency Insect Management Program grant process.
Thank you, Director Bork. Are there any questions of Director Bork at this time? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Director Bork, thank you for looking for grant money, match money. It really helps in our getting things done and maintaining. Any further comments? Nope. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Vigil.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Bowling, absent. Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 15, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2026-21 designating recreation project request priorities to the Albany County Recreation Board for funding consideration in the amount of $372,273.45 for fiscal year 2027 and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from Freed, second from Newman. Director Bork.
Honorable Mayor, it seems like it's been forever since we last spoke. The resolution before you today is, again, something that we bring annually after having gone through the application process for the Albany County Recreation Board mill levy funding. So the Parks, Tree, and Recreation Board met on January 14th to hear presentations from the 18 different applicants. This year, the application process was just slightly different. I was able to work closely with Albany County, and we turned all of our applications, which were paper-based, to an online platform, which seemed to work very well. We received 18 applications this year, and on February 11th, the Parks, Tree, and Rec Board met after hearing all of the presentations in January to create the prioritized project list that was attached to the resolution itself. So I don't necessarily need, unless you would like to go through each one of the 18, but the total recommended funding level of the 18 projects, only 15 of which were recommended for funding, is a total of $372,273.45. If this is approved, I would be forwarding this recommendation on to the Albany County Rec Board itself by the March 1st deadline that we have with them, and then they will meet over the next several months to go through both ours and all of the other requests that have come in for the rec mill levy. And I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. Councilors, any questions for Director Bork? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Any comments? I was hoping so. Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to shout out to Director Bork and his team. Heard a lot of positive feedback from the folks submitting applications and it being more streamlined and easy to use and integrated. And the presentations were fantastic, and the board made some good decisions here. So just a shout out to all the folks in Laramie that are doing really awesome things for youth programming, and this list it's a pretty cool list. And so just grateful to Director Bork again for doing that.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Councilor O'Doherty.
I just want to bring attention to that, it was number 5 from the Cathedral Home, the Coaches Who Care training. My understanding is that it's to train all kinds of coaches about awareness of their players that may have signs of being suicidal or that kind of think so. It's a suicide prevention thing. It's my understanding. I don't know if I got that right, but I think that's really important. And we kept hearing from like youth council for the last couple councils how concerned they are about their peers and their mental health. So I'm glad to see that in there. Thank you.
And I just want to commend the work of the Parks and Rec Board. It's a tremendous responsibility to go through this, to read all of these applications, and to make these recommendations. And it makes a tremendous difference to the quality of life and the well-being of our community. So thank you for that. City Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Bowling, absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. And now, Councilor Newman, item 16.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve original ordinance number 2117 on introduction and first reading, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 2.10, related to boards and commission members.
Second.
I have a motion from Newman and second from O'Doherty. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance before you tonight is on first reading and introduction. Part of our responsibility as staff is to notice sections of code that may need to be revised. This one was last adopted in 1986. As you're aware, we've added more boards and commissions since 1986. And as we reviewed our terms and when they ended, we noticed that we needed to revise this section of code to bring us up to current practice. So the revisions before you is just removing some of the prior dates that were put in here, November 1st through October 31st for the term dates, and making them now in accordance with the ordinance creating and the bylaws of the board or commission. And that way they all are in conformance with what the current practice is. So with that, Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, City Clerk. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Clerk. So I'm just trying to clarify myself. So the ones that we're on right now, does that change anything with us? Or are we notified, or is Mayor notified when it expires instead of the 2 years we thought we were going to be on it? Thank you.
Continue.
Mayor, thank you. To Councilor Lockhart, the current terms that all of the boards and commission members have been appointed to will remain the same. What this does is just clear up some confusion between this section of municipal code saying that the term should be from November 1st through October 31st. There are a few boards that their term currently ends in June, and a couple that end in December. So we would either have to change all of those to match this section of municipal code, or put in this language to just further clarify that it's in accordance with their creating ordinance and their bylaws. Does it?
So then to clarify, this helps to clarify the terms for all of our boards and commissions. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor O'Doherty.
I just want to thank the clerk's office, our city clerk and assistant city clerk, for all the work they do to help keep us up with all of our boards and commissions and getting all those interviews and reaching out to the public. So thank you.
Thank you. And that was going to be my comment. Thank you to city manager and city clerk for striving toward this consistency. And I think this clarification makes it run a lot smoother, and I appreciate that. City clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling, absent. Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Hill.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
Richardson. Richardson. Absent. Cumby.
Aye.
That's 6 yeses, 0 noes, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. And Councilor Newman, if you can do 16A, please.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2026-17, amending City Council Rules of Procedure and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from Newman, second by O'Doherty. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Boy, I've gotten to talk to you a lot tonight.
You have.
The item before you is a resolution to formalize the requested changes to the rules of procedure that city councilors brought up during the city council retreat that occurred on January 23rd and 24th. There are a few pretty minor changes. I know that there's one requested amendment tonight as well, but we'll kind of walk through the changes that are in here really quick. In Article 1, Rules of Procedure, Rule 1, it was requested to change it from the 5th Tuesday to quarterly town hall meetings during the months of March, June, September, and December on a day of the week other than a Tuesday. And that was to allow folks that may not be able to participate on Tuesdays to be able to participate on, say, a Wednesday or a Thursday during the week. There was also a request to add in an illness or other medical reason, excused absence or participation via web conferencing. There was also a request in H to add in vacation no more than twice a year as a reason that's approved to use web conferencing. In Rule 4, Order of Business, there was a request to add a section for mayor announcements and acknowledgements of board and commission member appointments. The council felt that it was important to be able to acknowledge board members that are being appointed, especially when they are in attendance that evening. In item 13, we also added a clarification to consideration of future work session topics to add with a brief description. So just to provide a little bit of clarity for councilors and staff as to what the requested topic is. Then in 2.08A, we just added in language to further clarify, including a brief description when requesting a work session topic. And we also added 2.08B to read: the requesting council member and second must meet with the city manager or designated staff to discuss the details of the item or topic prior to scheduling of the requested work session. That's just to provide that further clarity to make sure we get to that end goal during the work session. In item 4.02B, general rules, there was some clarifying language in there that the mayor may request that staff provide some clarity to public comments that were received, similar to this evening.
Yes.
So that's just kind of changing that language to just kind of make it a little bit more clear. Then in Appendix A for boards and commissions, this was a request that came from the mayor to add emeritus members and some language that accompanies that with, the basis for designating those emeritus members. So those are the changes that are brought forward in Resolution 2026-17. Mayor, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Thank you, City Clerk. I think before we take questions, can we entertain the amendment? Councilor Newman.
I move to amend Resolution 2026-17, Attachment Article 1, Rule 1, Section E, for the first two sentences to read as quarterly town meetings held quarterly from 6 to 7:30 in different locations, and the rest to stay the same.
Second.
I have a motion by, do you have something else?
Oh, no, I have a comment, sorry.
Oh, I have a motion by Newman and a second by Freed. And you wish to make a comment? Go ahead.
This is just so we don't shoehorn ourselves into these dates, right? Let's say we're voting on something in December. I would like to have a town meeting hall before that, especially if it's something big, like we've kind of seen maybe tonight, or surface water. So I think this gives us the flexibility of moving stuff around. Nobody wants to have, I don't want to have more meetings in December if I don't have to, those kinds of things. So I think this just gives council and future councils kind of a good idea to just move stuff around as they see fit.
And Councilor Newman and I talked about it, and I think it was a very good idea, and it allows us to be more flexible to the context of what's going on. And it also acknowledges that December sometimes, especially late December, is not always the best time to have a big meeting and people attend, and I appreciate the flexibility this allows us in arranging quarterly meetings and has the potential to make it a lot more meaningful. Councilor O'Doherty.
I agree. I would like, though, if you would just read that first sentence as how it's supposed to read now, because I'm getting a little confused.
Sure. It just
Is that
says,
okay, Mayor?
oh, yeah. Quarterly town hall meetings held quarterly from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in different locations. Basically, I'm taking the months off of it.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Any further questions on this amendment? Is there any public comment on this amendment? Yes, Ms. Seebeck, thank you.
Diana Seebeck. Mayor, please excuse me, I read the agenda and I read this to be on a consent, so I thought I missed my opportunity. And I'm sorry, I've now missed the discussion. But what I wanted to say about the quarterly meetings is I would like for you to have a flexibility sentence that as needed they be called, that they wouldn't just be, because then it'd be like, well, we can't because the rules say we've got to have these four. So if you could put a flexibility, like, I don't know what that would be, but as needed kind of thing, or if there was some kind of pressing, maybe it comes from you, maybe it comes from the public.
We could call special meeting if at any time that was necessary. Is that correct? Yes. So we have a flexibility if there's a pressing need. I think it's a good idea. I think that's a good idea that you brought up, but we do have that flexibility. If we needed a special meeting, we can call that and do that. And so thank you for your comments and thoughtfulness.
Thank you so much.
With no further public comment, councilors, so we will, City Clerk, if you can call the roll on the amendment.
Bowling, absent. Freed.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Richardson. Absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 nos, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. And now we're back to, do you have something else?
The Vice Mayor said, my Zoom is locked up. Can you tell them I am an A for the last vote? Just so you're aware, but her Zoom is currently locked up.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for conveying that information. It's hard for me to run the meeting. I've heard my text going off, but I couldn't get to it. So now back to the motion. Are there any questions and/or comments on the motion for the amendments to our municipal code to our rules of order and procedure? Councilor Freed first.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say thanks to your work, Mayor, and the folks you're working with on our boards and commissions updating, and to Councilor Newman for his idea and changing the language on our rules and procedures of the meetings. And lastly, to our city clerk for compiling all this and listening to us at our retreat. So it's a lot of work going into this that I think will make a difference. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Councilor Newman.
This is totally off topic, but it says also for the vote before, just so it's on record that she wanted to vote yes for that one as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? And I just wanted to say for the public that we currently, I believe, have all of our positions filled on boards and commissions, and this is the first time in over 6 years that that has been the case. And we've been out there promoting that, and people in the community have responded. Sometimes we have individuals who have served on boards for many terms, a number of terms, and we wanted a designation that would acknowledge their service, acknowledge their institutional knowledge, and the advice they may still have to offer a board. And so we've created a non-voting designation as emeritus, so that when we have situations where we have qualified people wanting to come in and we're trying to make a spot, that's a potential solution and alternative, and it allows us really to acknowledge the work and labor of our board members. So, and thank you to the city manager's office and to our city clerk especially. I just appreciate all the work you've done with this and the way that you take our statements and our suggestions and you pull it all together and you make a beautiful document out of it. Thank you. We really appreciate you. If you can call the roll on the motion.
Bowling, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Vigil.
Aye.
Richardson. Kind of absent, even though she's there. Cumby.
Yes.
Mayor, that's 3 yeses, 0 noes, and 3 absent.
Thank you. 3?
Sorry. Yeah, 3 absent.
Well, you said 3 yeses.
Did I say it wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. That's 6 yeses, 0 noes, and 3 absent, Your Honor. No wonder why everybody was looking at me like, I know.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that makes a mistake. Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. And finally, are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none, back to council.
I have 2 hands raised online.
Oh, my goodness.
I've got
Yes.
Tom Matamore and Eric Henderson.
All righty. So, who are you? Mr. Matamore, comment on non-agenda item.
All right, there I'm unmuted. I just will not keep you long, Honorable Mayor and Council. It's late in the evening. But my comment is the City Council in Laramie is the closest thing to the definition of a representative republic that we have in this country. I only have one concern, and that is that we could take more of these issues that will tend to divide the public, and if we spend a little more time educating the public on what we're doing and explaining it, because the rational explanations I heard tonight go a long way to assuaging the snap decision people have made on what things have done. But trust the voters. I think you'll be surprised at how well they respond to things that are actually needed. Like the stormwater, I said from the beginning, you could trust the voters, and especially with the new fee structure, I believe it would pass without a problem if it was put to the voters. I believe this would pass if it was put to the voters. So you're doing a great job, and I want to say thank you for all you do, but you can still trust the voters. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattermore. And Mr. Henderson. Comment on non-agenda item. Mr. Henderson? Mr. Henderson, your camera is off and you are not muted. You are muted.
Oh, yeah, he just dropped, Mayor.
He dropped?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none. Back to council. Consideration for future council work session topics. All right, Councilor Newman.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Newman, second by Freed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.